Okay, the time has come. It is time to predict the 2022 Formula 1 season. How am I going to predict 2022? It's one of the most eagerly anticipated Formula 1 seasons in decades. It's so hard to predict. This video is going to be a little bit of a stab in the dark. I've had to wait till the last possible moment to predict because I literally had no idea what to say prior to testing. Like I said, it's going to be a stab in the dark. We're going to take what we've learned from testing and we're going to apply that. I'm going to come up with top 10 constructors and top 5 drivers. What I think is going to happen in 2022. You know, last few years you've got the previous year to go by, but with new rules of 2022, it's a completely clean slate, which is why it's so difficult to predict. And obviously testing isn't that. You can't, like I said in my previous video, you can't necessarily draw tangible conclusions. But what we learned from testing, let's apply that. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the video for the top 10 constructors to start with. I'm Ollie Patas. Boom, let's talk F1. Okay, so we're going to work down from 10th all the way down to who I think is going to win. We'll do the top 10. So we'll start with, in 10th place, I believe Alfa Romeo will come in 10th place. Unfortunately for Valtteri Bottas fans, it might be a tough year for you. You know, Barcelona was very tough. Alfa Romeo really didn't get many laps in, reliability gremlins. The car didn't look planted, didn't look comfortable, and overall I just don't think Alfa Romeo are set up to win. Maybe not ever, but this year I just don't see them making any kind of tangible progress. They've gone backwards since 2019, and I just don't see them going forwards. I see all the other teams having more of a chance of finishing above them. One piece of hope they do have is that Bahrain went a lot smoother. They got some good laps in. Bottas and Guan Yu Zhou said they felt more comfortable in the car, but even so, like I said, I just think all the other teams are going to finish above them. Not because I think they'll do badly, just I think the other teams will be stronger. So I'm going to put Alfa Romeo in last position, 10th. Next up, in 9th, I'm going to put Williams. Look, when I say teams are going to finish 9th or 10th, that doesn't mean I think they're going to have a disaster. I think every team has a chance of scoring points this year with the new rules. Like I said, clean slates, anything could happen. It's so unpredictable. I think we'll get less predictable racing, which means anything could happen. We'll get more varied results. But I think Williams is going to be in 9th. You know, I just think other teams have more resources than them. Pre-season did actually go quite well for them. They looked didn't have too many reliability issues. A few gremlins in Bahrain, but apart from that, it went quite well, especially in Barcelona. But Williams' last few years have been stagnating at the back of the grid. And obviously the Williams project with Doralton Capital is a long-term thing. I don't think they'll be ready to move too much further up the grid, but I do think points is on the cards for them this year, but I think it'll be 9th in the Constructors for them in 2022. Next up, in 8th, now this one might shock you a little bit. This is the first curveball, the first kind of anomaly from 2021 and 2020. The pecking order that we saw then, this is the first kind of real change I'm going to put in. I think in 8th place, we're going to see Aston Martin. And if that's the case, that puts Sebastian Vettel's future very much in jeopardy. Aston Martin, like Williams, is a long-term project. I think they're looking towards 2024, 2025, 2026 before they start winning Grand Prix and championships. I think 2022 is just coming a little bit too early for them to pounce on the top teams and make inroads into podium places and whatnot. Not to mention the issues they had in Barcelona and Bahrain, a few reliability gremlins, and the car looks a handful. Vettel and Stroll, Sebastian Vettel and Lance Stroll, both not happy with the balance of the car. It doesn't look planted, and out of all the cars out there, visually, in terms of how it looks going through corners, going through straights, it doesn't look great. But obviously, that might not be the case. That's the nature of 2022. We really don't know. But I'm going to put Aston Martin in 8th. Next up, in 7th, and you've probably wondered, in the bottom 3 positions, where the hell are they? I'm going to put Haas in 7th. I think they will improve on 2021. They have to improve. And we've seen in the past that with the few resources they have, they can produce a good car and do well. 2018, 2016, 2017 even, and times at 2019. Their car was fast. They're regular Q3 runners, regular point scorers. They have potential within the team to do well. I think that the sacrifice of 2021 could pay off in 2022. They're the team that have spent the most amount of time towards 2022, and that has to produce something this year. It has to, it simply has to. And they've got Kevin Magnussen back behind the wheel, bit of experience, and obviously a faster and better driver than Nikita Mazepin. So yeah, I think there's potential for a step up the grid in 2022. For Haas, I think they will be scoring points on a much more regular basis this year. So I see Haas in 7th. And Kevin Magnussen, back behind the wheel, day 2 of Bahrain, goes fastest. The Haas, when it's up and running, looks fast. And in 6th, well, there was a lot of noise about this team heading into 2022 that they could have found something special in the rules. They could have really made inroads into the top teams, and it could have been their year to make a step forward and take advantage of regulations. But pre-season has been a little bit of a disaster. They've been one of the worst teams in pre-season. They've had a number of fundamental issues that for a team of their size and stature should not be occurring. They've already failed one timeline. Now the pressure's on to get to the front of the grid within 100 races, says CEO Laurent Rossi. Alpine, I'm going to put in 6th. They had gremlins aplenty in Barcelona. The hydraulics issue for Alonso cutting short their running on day 3, DRS not working, a few brake issues then in Bahrain. The car doesn't look that good. But there were times when they had flashes of brilliance. Ocon got a good few laps in Bahrain, but Alpine just apparently, and according to a senior source at the team, the car is not good. They're missing a lot of things, and the car is not ready apparently. But I do believe that you need to take things like that with a pinch of salt. I think in years gone by they produced a mediocre car that can get results. I do see relative improvement in a way, but I don't see them encroaching on the top teams again, because like I said, they've got a 100 race plan according to Laurent Rossi. There's a pattern emerging here. These midfield teams who are aiming to get to the front are kind of delaying that push to get to the front, and they're failing their timelines because the teams above them simply have better resources and are more set up to win. And Alpine are another victim, along with Williams and Aston Martin, of stagnating in the midfield, waiting to get to the front of the grid. Whether it will happen or not, time will tell. But yeah, I'm going to go with Alpine in 6th. Then in 5th, I'm going to put AlphaTauri. I think last few years, 5-6 years ago, AlphaTauri / Toro Rosso were kind of at the back of the midfield, and then last few years they've kind of readjusted and moved to the front of the midfield. I think they're going to take advantage of the issues that the likes of Aston Martin and Alpine are potentially experiencing. They're going to benefit from the partnership with Red Bull. Red Bull obviously have all the know-how and resources that they can pass on to AlphaTauri. Red Bull, it's also in their best interest to have the AlphaTauri further up the midfield to enhance the rookie drivers they've got there. Not rookie drivers, but young drivers they're looking to work with and nurture into top drivers, especially Yuki Tsunoda and Pierre Gasly. So yes, in their best interest to make sure AlphaTauri are doing well. I think they will improve on last year's 6th position and go 5th this year. Now let's get to the interesting part. I don't think the top 4 from last year is going to change, barring any exceptional circumstances, like a team getting it exceptionally right that we haven't seen yet. Obviously all will be revealed this weekend in Bahrain. But in 4th position, I'm going to go with McLaren, because although when the car is up and running it looks fast, they've had a few issues in Bahrain regarding the brakes, a few reliability gremlins and issues crept in. But like I said, it looks fast when it's up and running. They've got a great driver lineup in Lando Norris and Daniel Ricciardo. Daniel Ricciardo's got to step up this year and prove his doubters wrong. It's a big year for him. I think McLaren, I just think Red Bull, Ferrari, Mercedes are going to have too much for them. They are bigger teams than McLaren at the moment, unfortunately, and I think the best McLaren are going to do is 4th this year. Now, in 3rd, I think the top 3 teams are all going to be the chance with winning the title this year. I don't think McLaren will be in the title fight. I think these top 3 teams will be. In 3rd, I'm going to put Red Bull. Now, reminder, this is the Constructors' Championship prediction, not my competitive order prediction. The reason I'm putting Red Bull in 3rd is because I just think Sergio Perez is going to lag too far behind Max Verstappen. We've seen the last 3 or 4 years Red Bull have been running pretty much one-legged with Verstappen carrying the team. And unless Sergio Perez takes a big step up from last year, I just think that Red Bull are going to suffer in the Constructors' Championship compared to, well, the remaining 2, Ferrari and Mercedes. But let's not forget, Red Bull have been quietly strong all pre-season testing. Not many issues, not many gremlins, and they have looked fast. So the pace is there, and they could be, well, I think they will be in the championship fight, and Max Verstappen is going to be incredibly fast this year. With the confidence of being world champion, he's going to be, I think he'll step it up again in 2022. So there's potential there for Red Bull to win the title again. So I'm going to put them in 3rd in the Constructors for 2022. Ooh, now it gets interesting. In 2nd, I'm going to put Mercedes. Now, although George Russell and Lewis Hamilton agree on the fact that they have a lot of work to do and the car isn't necessarily ready, and well, Lewis Hamilton says they're not going to be competing for wins, you have to take that with a pinch of salt. They've said something along these lines the last 4 or 5 years and then come out and dominated. But there's a feeling this year that might not be the case. It might actually be true. Will Buxton said that in years gone by, when he's interviewed Lewis Hamilton, he can tell that he's kind of just playing down the performance of the Mercedes, and he kind of knows that it's going to be a winning car. But this year, apparently, Will Buxton detected kind of resignation from Lewis Hamilton in the fact that the car isn't necessarily ready to win races yet. But I think they are going to come back. Mercedes, they are Mercedes. They're going to have They're going to develop the car so well, they're going to work really hard to get the car into a position to win races again, and I'm sure it won't take long for them to get up to speed. And of course they've got Lewis Hamilton and George Russell behind the wheel. That will definitely help and will help them in the Constructors. I think that is arguably the strongest lineup on the grid for 2022. It will score points, it will definitely win races and get on the podium. I think Lewis Hamilton is going to be in the title fight with that car, which is why I put Mercedes second in the Constructors for 2022. And that of course leaves Ferrari. I think they'll win the Constructors. I think Ferrari, there's kind of no doubt about it at this point. They have the strongest car, it seems. They've had the most, out of all the front running teams, they've had the most CFD and wind tunnel time, like I mentioned in that previous video. I think there's going to be a strong year from Ferrari here. Carlos Sainz is integrated into the team after 2021. He looks really strong alongside Charles Leclerc, two top drivers. They had very few issues in testing, hardly any. The car looks planted, it looks fast, the drivers are happy. They're reporting a good feeling from the car, and yeah, this could be Ferrari's year. So I'm going to put them first in the Constructors. I think they're going to win it. And I've also had a strong feeling for a long time that in 2022 Ferrari are going to bounce back and take some titles home. Now, before we get on to the second part of the video, with that in mind, comment below, who do you think is going to win the 2022 title in 2022? Who do you think is going to win? Comment below your thoughts on that, who's going to be champion next year. Okay, second part of the video, let's predict the top 5 Drivers' Championship. Top 5 in the Drivers' Championship. Right, so I'm not going to predict all 20 because that'll get a bit too obscure and difficult, but we're going to do the top 5. So in 5th, I think we're going to see George Russell in 5th place in the Drivers' Championship. And don't forget, it's George Russell's first year in a front-running car, and let's remember the Mercedes might not be a massively front-running car. I think the car will be a little bit behind the likes of Ferrari at least this year. So I think the best he can do is 5th potentially. I don't necessarily see him in the title fight, maybe up until the summer break, who knows, like I said. But yeah, I see the 5th as best he can do. Drivers around him, he's going to have more experience at the front. It could be an integration season for George Russell, however I do believe that more or less he will be there with Lewis Hamilton to start with. But over the course of a season, I just think he'll lag behind Lewis Hamilton especially, and 5th is the best he can do this year. Then in 4th, we're going to go with Carlos Sainz. The Ferrari is going to be a formidable car this year, but drivers around him are going to have a little bit too much talent. I think the likes of, little hint at my top 3 here, Verstappen, Leclerc and Hamilton, I think they're going to have too much for Sainz and Russell. And yeah, I just think Sainz is going to lag behind his teammates slightly. He does have the pace, like he proved in 2021, but Leclerc was hugely unlucky that year. So I see Carlos Sainz finishing 4th this year. Now, if what Lewis Hamilton says is true about the Mercedes, which I think it might be, I see Lewis Hamilton finishing 3rd in the Drivers' Championship. I don't see him winning an 8th title this year. I think the Mercedes isn't going to be strong enough. It won't be dominant enough. And like I said in one of my previous videos with Luke Howick, I don't think he's going to win the 8th title now. I think 2021 was his chance. I think that opportunity is now gone because Mercedes dominance has to come to an end at some point. But I'm not ruling it out, it's just my prediction, and it will probably be completely wrong and blow up in my face in 12 months' time. But I see Lewis Hamilton finishing 3rd in the Drivers' Championship. Then runner-up in 2022, 2nd to the World Champion, 2nd in the Drivers' Championship, I'm going to put Max Verstappen. I think that the Red Bull could be faster than the Mercedes this year, but I just think Mercedes will finish above Red Bull in the Constructors because I think George Russell is going to be stronger than Sergio Perez. I see Max Verstappen finishing 2nd. I think he's going to get the most out of that Red Bull like he always does. He's going to be operating on another level now that he's world champion. He's going to have more confidence. I think he's going to be really strong this year, Verstappen, and he's going to take that Red Bull to 2nd in the Drivers' Championship. I think he'll just miss out on the title to Charles Leclerc. I think this is his year. If Ferrari had the best car, which we all think they do, and if they do, I think there's no reason why Charles Leclerc can't win the title. And maybe I'm playing on a little fantasy here, but I do see a 3-way title for the title between Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc, coming out on top. If the Ferrari's stronger, like I said, if it's the strongest car, Charles Leclerc can definitely do it. He's on Verstappen's level, he's on Hamilton's level, so he can win a world championship, and it can be in 2022. And that is my official prediction for 2022 finished. I've given the top 10 order of the Constructors and my top 5 prediction for the Drivers' Championship. Like I said, 2022 is so hard to predict. That's more or less a stab in the dark. But it might end up being true, who knows. A few interesting ones in there, I'm sure you'll agree, but that's what I think is going to happen. That's what I've learned from testing and applying to my predictions. I think it's going to be a very interesting year, and it's just so hard to predict. It's been racking my brain for weeks, for months, as to what's going to happen in 2022, and that is the conclusion that I've come to. Now, please do like and subscribe. Do not forget, just do it. It really helps me out. You know it does. So thank you if you do that, and don't forget to comment below who you think is going to win the world title. What driver is going to be the champion in 2022? Comment your thoughts on that below. And yeah, I think 2022 is going to be a fantastic year. A new era for F1, a fresh start. It's going to be very interesting. I'm Ollie Patas. Thanks for watching. Boom. Let's talk F1.